folks, on the Boston Celtics falling at the buzzer to the Atlanta Hawks in their very first NBA Cup game of the season. And it happened while Atlanta was missing three of its top players. Trae Young was out. DeAndre Hunter was out. Bogdanovic was out. And yet still, somehow, the Atlanta Hawks come into TD Garden for this NBA Cup game, and they steal a 1-point win. There is some good news for Boston after this game. Yes, it is 0-1 in NBA Cup group play. However, I must point this out. This is a best-case scenario for the Celtics in any loss of the NBA Cup. As we learned last season, as the Celtics learned very well, point differential comes into play. If you're going to lose an NBA Cup group play game, you want it to be by as few amount of points as possible. Well, the Celtics just lost by 1. That literally is the smallest differential that you could possibly have in a loss. So, I'm just saying, the Celtics are very much still alive in this tournament. If they happen to rattle off 3 straight wins, their only loss, if they rattle off 3 straight wins, there's a very good chance that they could be at least tied or outright lead the group in victories in group play. If they wind up tied, this 1-point loss will almost certainly be a better loss deficit in terms of point differential than any other team in the group that loses a single game. The odds of another team losing its single game by 1 point, probably pretty low. So, glass half full for the Boston Celtics. They did lose this game. However, they lost it in the very best fashion that they possibly could in this NBA Cup tournament. You want to lose by few points, and the Celtics did exactly that. They lost by 1. Now, this one did come down to the final seconds. Boston had not 1, but 2 opportunities to score the game-winning basket during the final 5 seconds of this game. The first time, they come out of a timeout, and the Boston Celtics try to inbound the ball to Jayson Tatum, posting up on the left block, a little bit extended from the left block. Drew Holiday inbounds the ball, and as Jayson Tatum was going to grab it, it looked like his defender might have yanked his left arm a little bit. It looked also like Jayson might have just lost concentration on the ball as he was looking to assess what he wanted to do, and he might have turned his hips a little bit too early. All of that combined together to have the pass deflect off his hand and right out of bounds. The Celtics were down by 1 point when that happened. Again, 5 seconds left in the game when that play happens. That would have given them an opportunity for Jayson Tatum to score or assist on a game-winning basket at the buzzer. So they pass it out of bounds. They're out of timeouts. At that point, you're thinking the Celtics are done, right? They've got to foul. They've got to send Atlanta to the free throw line. If Atlanta makes 1 or 2, the clock is going to be low. The Celtics don't have an opportunity to advance the ball into the front court with a timeout, so the odds are pretty low. So what do the Celtics do? They come out of Atlanta's timeout, and Jaylen Brown jumps the passing lane and forces a turnover on the inbound pass. I don't know what happened. The referee blew his whistle. It looked like he was calling a foul. It looked like he was saying Jaylen Brown was out of bounds. Then he winds up saying, "My bad, Jaylen, you intercepted that inbounds pass. Boston Celtics basketball." So that happens with about 3.5 seconds left. So yet again, the Celtics have the ball with a chance to win the game. Where do they go? They come out of the play and they pass it to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown had scored a season-high 37 points in this game. Not a bad place to go to. First off, you went to Jayson Tatum with an attempt. That play did not work. The ball went out of bounds on the inbound pass. Now they go to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown catches the ball in a very similar place to where Jayson Tatum attempted to catch the ball. He kind of curls around the left elbow, takes a mid-range jumper from about the left elbow, highly contested by not 1 but 2 Atlanta Hawks players, and the shot misses. And that's the game. End of game, the buzzer goes off, and the Celtics fall by 1, and Atlanta holds on for the win. So, again, Boston had 2 opportunities during the final 5 seconds to score any basket to win this game. They failed to do so. One thing that we need to mention is that this is the second time in 3 games that the Celtics have had an opportunity to score to win the game on the final possession of regulation. As we all watched a couple games ago last Friday night when the Boston Celtics played host to the Brooklyn Nets, who they will face again tomorrow night. They had a chance to win the game at the end of regulation. Jayson Tatum winds up taking a three-pointer at the buzzer from the right wing. He was in a tough position, caught the ball going away from the basket with 6 seconds left, had to pull up for three, wound up missing. Now you fast forward to tonight, Jaylen Brown gets an opportunity to win the game with that shot from the left elbow and just wasn't able to sink the shot. So, 2 times in 3 games, both of the stars, the superstars on the Boston Celtics, had an opportunity to win it. They came up short. That is not going to deter them. That is not going to deter Joe Mazzulla from going to them and trusting in them as the season goes on. They're going to get many more opportunities. They just happen to miss in these last 2 games. So that's the story of how the end of the game happened. There's a lot to talk about after this one. And we're going to save a discussion for what led to this Celtics loss outside of the failed attempts during those final 5 seconds. We're going to save that conversation for when our fans sound off on this game in just a few minutes. But first, let's touch on how the Celtics had a chance to win 2 of the last 3 games on the final possession. As we just talked about, Jayson Tatum had the chance a couple games ago. Jaylen Brown had it again tonight. These are 2 of the star players, and I talked about it in the last Sound Off episode that there's this reputation in Celtics Nation that Jayson Tatum can't get it done when the game is on the line. Listen, he's done it many times before, and I've seen the numbers. I said it in the episode of Sound Off after that Nets game a few nights ago. I've seen the numbers. Jayson Tatum is right up there with the rest of the stars in the league, taking a final shot of the game with a chance to tie or win. I'm telling you, his percentages are right there. So seeing him miss that shot last Friday, seeing him not catch the inbound ball tonight, and then seeing Jaylen Brown miss this shot tonight, don't let that discourage you. I know it's discouraging in the moment. You really want the Celtics to win this game, but those guys are confident. They can get it done. They have won an NBA championship. They want to win more. They're going to try to do it this season, and they trust in themselves. I guarantee you that. They are confident, and I guarantee you the rest of the roster and Joe Mazzulla, who is the key to drawing up the plays of who is getting the shot, I guarantee they all trust in each other, and they're going to be successful at some point this season. They've had a rough go of it the last 4 or 5 days, but let's think about moving forward. They're going to have more opportunities. There's going to be more close games, and they're going to make some clutch shots. And by the way, they won that game last Friday in overtime. So it's not like they lost because Jayson Tatum missed the shot at the end of regulation. Tonight they lost. They were down by 1. So you got to give that up to the Hawks. They made the plays down the stretch, and they were able to pull it off. What do we want to get into next? How about Jaylen Brown in general? I mean, he had a great game tonight. As I said, scored a season-high 37 points. He was excellent from inside the arc. I believe it was 11 of 16 from the field, getting it done from the mid-range, getting it done at the basket. Actually shot 3 of 6 from beyond the arc, so he was scoring on all 3 levels. However, a lot of people are going to concentrate on what they saw in another couple departments. He wound up shooting 6 for 10 from the free throw line tonight. 3 of those misses came during the fourth quarter. So those 3 misses were certainly critical misses. If he makes a couple of them, the Celtics probably win this game. If he makes all of them, the Celtics probably win this game. I don't know if you can expect any player to shoot perfect from the free throw line when they take 10 attempts in a single game, but if he makes a couple more, Boston is in a much better position going down the stretch, especially given the fact that Atlanta was trying to come back in this game. They were down by 15. We're going to touch on that a little bit more, but they were down 15 points during the second half. So Jaylen Brown, 6 of 10 from the free throw line, misses a few of them in the fourth quarter. That's going to loom large. As well, Jaylen committed 6 turnovers in this game. Not a great number. Jayson Tatum committed 5, so 11 turnovers out of your 2 superstars. That does not usually get it done. The Celtics as a team usually commit 11, 12, 13 turnovers in a game. Tonight, Tatum and Brown combined for 11. So those are 2 areas where I guarantee you Jaylen Brown, he's going to take onus. He's going to own the moment. He's going to say, I did not play as well as I could have or should have tonight. I let my team down. I'm going to be better. I'm going to be better the next time I step on the court, and that's going to be tomorrow night in Brooklyn. Yes, he scored 37 points. Yes, he grabbed 5 rebounds. Yes, he grabbed a steal, dished out a couple of assists. Did this all in less than 36 minutes of action. Shoots 14 of 22 from the field. A very efficient night, but the biggest things are those missed free throws during the fourth quarter and those 6 turnovers. That's area for growth. That's area for improvement. That's what Jaylen Brown's going to be thinking as he heads into the next game. But he was excellent tonight in terms of scoring on all 3 levels. Another thing I take from this game is the Atlanta Hawks are good, man. They've got some good young talent on this roster. Tonight you saw a couple of them really go off and have an opportunity to go off without Trae Young, without Bogdanovic, and without DeAndre Hunter. These young players, I mean, Jalen Johnson logs a triple-double tonight. 18 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists. Also grabbed 3 steals and a block. That's 4 stocks to go along with a triple-double. He was awesome. And then Dyson Daniels, if you haven't seen enough of him, you haven't heard enough about him, you surely know after this game. Played almost 41 minutes. Led the entire game in minutes played. 41 minutes on the night. Shoots 12 of 21 from the field en route to 28 points. He was awesome tonight, too. Larry Nance Jr., not a young player on this roster, but certainly made an impact tonight. Shot 5 of 6 from long distance. But you just look at these guys. Zachary Risachet, he also played pretty well. 8 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 steals in this game. They've got some young talent to go along with those established guys that missed the game tonight. Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, and Bogdanovic. You look at this group, this is like a good, talented young team. So let's keep an eye on the Hawks as they move forward, not only this season, but into the coming seasons. They've got talent. They've got some cornerstone-type players, some real impact players that they're built a lot like this Celtics team. I'm not saying they're on the same level, but you look at Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum when they were 19, 20, 21 years old. Jalen Johnson, Dyson, like these guys look a lot like that. I'm not saying they're going to be Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown, but they're big, long, athletic, skilled players, and they're players to keep an eye on. This Hawks team could be really good in a couple years. So that's what we've got here before we go into our fan comments. We've got some numbers that we got to talk about that are not so good about how the Celtics wound up giving this lead. So let's jump into it now. We've got 3 comments coming in from our fans. First up, we've got B-Wall on what did the Celtics in this game. It's not so great. We're going to go over some ugly numbers. Then we've got Jack on what turned this game for the Hawks during the second half. And then lastly, we've got Dr. Anthony Afterwit. Love that name. First time being a part of the podcast, saying he's got a glass half full approach here as we move forward after this game. So let's dive into our first comment here. We've got B-Wall talking about what did the Celtics in tonight. All right, B-Wall, first up, saying such games are bound to happen. Games where we go in expecting nothing short of a huge win, so we don't take care of business, and the opponents stick to doing the easy things. Preach. We should have put this game to bed in the third quarter. We were lazy, careless, and didn't have the hunger. That's a pretty significant condemnation of the Celtics tonight. Some of this is true. Some of it may be a little bit blown out of proportion, but let's dive into it. So should have put this game away in the third quarter, B-Wall says. I couldn't agree more. The Celtics were up by 15 points at the 6-minute mark of the third quarter. You're playing against a team that's missing 3 of its top players, arguably the 3 top players on the roster. The most established, the most talented. You're up by 15 points. Your team is playing well, shooting the ball well at a high level. You've got to put the game away at that point. The Celtics did not. They started to turn the ball over. They started to allow the Hawks to crash the offensive glass. And that was the case of what we saw throughout this game. All of a sudden, it was a 6-point game after that 15-point lead. It only took a couple minutes. They had a 15-point lead midway through the third, and then 5 straight misses, a turnover. The offense kind of just fell apart, And then Atlanta took advantage. All of a sudden, it's back within 6, not even in the late minutes of the third quarter, and they're feeling good about themselves with an opportunity to win. And the Celtics just didn't really turn it around from there. They just never got back on track of playing Celtics basketball. And we're going to talk about that in our next comment from Jack, but the Celtics just didn't look like themselves. The effort wasn't really there. The hunger wasn't really there, as B. Wall says. And really, the Celtics, this wasn't what they typically display on a nightly basis. This didn't really look like them during the second half. Now, they've got to rebound from this and go into the second night of a back-to-back on the road tomorrow night in Brooklyn. So we'll see how that turns out. But again, B. Wall says they should have put this game to bed in the third quarter. Couldn't agree with you more. Up by 15 points, midway through the third. The opponent is on the road. The opponent is missing 3 of its best players. You've got to put your foot down on their throat at that moment. The Celtics typically do. Tonight, they didn't do that. They learned their lesson, and let's hope that that leads to them doing exactly that, of kicking a team while it's down and pulling away for the win moving forward when they've got a big lead during the second half. Now, lazy, I wouldn't call them that. It's not like they didn't give effort. They just didn't give the level of effort that they typically do. Careless, they did turn the ball over, and the hunger, it just didn't seem like they were quite there as they typically are. So, B-Wall, we appreciate your comment, and now we're going to jump into our next one from Jack. All right, Jack says, stubborn performance. They lost this game in the margins with turnovers and rebounds. The turnovers in particular should have improved in the second half. Now, these numbers are not great, as I just teased a couple minutes ago, but we're going to go over them because they happened, okay? These happened in the game. Let's talk about them. The Hawks wound up taking 25 more shots than the Celtics in this game. 100 for the Hawks, 75 for the Celtics. 75 shots for the Boston Celtics with this offense under Joe Mazzulla is unheard of. There's been games where they've taken 60-plus three-pointers in a game, let alone shots. So 75 shots in a game, something had to not go well in a couple other areas, and that's exactly what happened. Turnovers and rebounds. Tonight, the Celtics committed a season-high 20 turnovers. Their previous high on the season was 15. So quite a bit past that number tonight. They go all the way up to 20. And when you turn the ball over, that means you're taking fewer shots, and the other team has more opportunities to take shots. So you can outshoot a team, which I believe the Celtics did tonight. Let's take a look at the numbers. They shot 50. Yeah, they just by a smidge outshot the Hawks from the field. They shot much better than them from three-point range. However, they took fewer shots. So the Hawks had more opportunity to score points. They didn't have to shoot quite as well because they had more opportunities. So that's the turnover battle. Now let's get into the other part. That for a while, there was probably a 5-6 year stretch of seasons where Celtics fans were like, can we please protect the defensive rebounding? Stop letting the other team grab offensive boards. Well, tonight that crept up on the Celtics. 20 offensive rebounds for the Atlanta Hawks. I'll repeat that number. 20 offensive rebounds for the Atlanta Hawks. And that includes the one that led to the game-winning points. Dyson Daniels missed a potential go-ahead basket during the final seconds. And Onyeka Okongwu comes in, tips in the loose ball for an offensive board to put the Hawks up 117 to 116. Those were the final points of the game. So that offensive rebound decided the game. But again, 20 offensive rebounds allowed to the Hawks tonight. Risa Shea had 5. Jalen Johnson, 3. Clint Capella, 6. Okongwu, 4. Larry Nance Jr., 2. That's too many offensive rebounds, and that's too many guys offensive rebounding. Great job by the Hawks coaching staff telling their players who were undermanned tonight, this is how we can have a chance to compete and to win this game. We've got to crash the offensive glass. They did it. They did it successfully, And that's what led to them being able to win this game. 18 second chance points in this game. They scored 18 second chance points, and they scored 19 points off of Boston's turnovers. So let's do the math there. I'm not a mathematician, but that's 37 of the 117 that they scored in this game were either off offensive rebounds or off turnovers. 37 of their 117. Those are two areas that the Celtics are going to say, man, that's not us. They're going to say this is an opportunity for us to get better. We've got to get better in these two areas. And let's keep a lookout for that tomorrow night when they take on the Nets. But again, 20 turnovers, a season high, and they allow 20 offensive rebounds to this Hawks team that was relentless. Give them credit. That was the area they thought they could expose with the players they had available tonight, and they exposed it. And that is those are the sole reasons why they won this game. Props to Okongwu for crashing the glass on that final miss by Dyson Daniels. It was a great play. He tipped it in, and that's what gave them the win, and that's what left the Celtics with the 1-point loss. All right, our last comment of the night coming in from Dr. Anthony Afterwit. I hope that's your last name. Love that last name. All right, he's got to say, we needed to drop a performance like this to make everyone lock in, and they will. A very definitive, glass-half-full comment from Dr. Anthony Afterwit. And I'm with you. I mean, sometimes it takes a game like this, losing to an undermanned team, losing to that undermanned team at home, losing to that undermanned team at home in a game that matters for the NBA Cup. Sometimes that's the type of game that can get everyone recentered and get everyone locked in. The Celtics haven't had really many bad losses this season. They've now lost 3 total games this season by a total of 10 points. That ain't so bad, okay? Yes, Celtics Nation wants Boston to win every game. Yes, the Celtics, every time they take the court, they want to win the game, but sometimes it's just not your night. Sometimes you just don't bring your A game, and the other team maybe plays above what its typical standards are. But the Celtics have lost 3 total games this season by 10 total points. It's not as bad as it might seem to some people out there. There's room for growth. There's room for improvement. Let's remember that this team isn't quite whole yet. They don't have their rim protector and their starting center who stretches the floor. They'll get back, and they'll be better. So glass half full from Dr. Anthony Afterwit. This is the type of game that can recenter the team and get them to lock back in. Now, the funny thing about that is there's not much time to harp on a loss in the NBA. Sometimes it's a day. Sometimes it's a couple days. The Celtics have less than 24 hours before they will be on the court yet again, this time taking on the Brooklyn Nets down in Brooklyn. The Celtics are in the air, flying to Brooklyn right now. They're going to land. They're going to go to their hotel rooms. They're going to forget about this game, start preparing for tomorrow night, and try to take on a Nets team that took them to overtime last Friday. So that game is coming up at 7:30. That's coming up tomorrow night at 7:30. And just a reminder, one last thing that I want to just reiterate this to everyone. If you're playing in the NBA Cup and you lose a game, the best way to lose is by 1. So best case scenario for the Celtics if you're going to lose a game tonight. They lost by 1. They're going to have 3 more opportunities to try to win some games in advance into the quarterfinals. And the next opportunity is going to come up next Tuesday when, guess what? Oh, okay, they're just playing host to the undefeated 12-0 at this moment Cleveland Cavaliers. That's going to be a game everyone's got to keep their eyes on. Going to be an awesome game. But first things first, the Celtics back on the court right away. Tomorrow night, taking on the Nets down in Brooklyn at 7:30. Respond to my tweet after that game. Give me your comments. We're going to take a few of them here in our next episode of Sound Off. And until then, have a great night.